So I have come across, and I have been a victim of this, Mr. Mohammed. I used to run a butchery, and I ran it for about an year, and we had to close shop, and it was not the easiest of decisions to make at that point. So and the other day, just discussing with some of our followers, and they're like, how do we know when to give up? How do we know when to even sell? How do we know that it is time to focus on other things? And what do we need to know, to do to actually get there? And that is what informed the discussion this evening. So maybe you can take it away. You can introduce yourself and then tell us now, how do we keep going, or how do we build sustainable businesses?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Gharib. I am an entrepreneur. I am also an IT consultant. I started my career making business systems. I would go into a company that manufactures or sells items, and I would be able to implement a system that would help them track their business key performances, track their invoices, their payments, their debtors, their creditors, their stock, and everything else. So that's where I started until I found my own business. Actually, it was a group of us. We were many. And I think at some point, that is what used to scare investors, because they ask you, it is you and how many others? Then I say it is me and 6 other guys. The investors immediately back off from that conversation. So you can understand when I say that it was a bit tough for us. And half the time, we actually came down to the conclusion on whether we should give up or we should continue. Now, the reason I am choosing to do this, I am not an expert in people giving up. I know people have coaches for, you have a marketing coach, you have a business coach, and you have a this coach and a that coach. Now, unfortunately, there is no coach for giving up. That guy who says, like, you come, I'll teach you how to give up, and it will be all right. And I'll tell you when exactly to give up. Now, that becomes a big problem, because then you're not sure whether you've reached there or you haven't. So allow me to share my slides, then I'll take you through from point to point. I hope that is visible. It is. Now,
Yes, it is.
So I know everyone has seen this picture, when to give up and when to keep going. And like, this guy is trying to keep digging. Well, this guy gave up when he was very close to reaching what looks like diamonds. Now, in a normal scenario, it's normally not that simple, and it's normally not. Now, we have a cross-section view now, and sometimes we can look at this and say, like, why now? But then, so where does it start? Because you see, for everything, there is a beginning. Now, the beginning of how you get to that point where you are choosing. Normally, it's this, and it was through a life coach that actually brought this to my attention. Uh, it has always been everybody's plan, like, let's have a business. Uh, you have a butchery, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back to employment, and then you have another something running on the side. You have that jama. You also bought a plot somewhere. So if one thing doesn't work, you can always go to a safe haven somewhere and just pretend it never happened. Now, that is where the problem starts. You see, once you have a plan B, you have an escape route. And if you have an escape route, it means that you're not going to focus exactly on making this plan A a success. So when you scrap plan B, it means that your plan is plan A alone and you're planning to succeed. Now, I know half of the viewers, or even more, people who are employed. I was employed at some point and I had a plan B, which was the job site, youhired.me. We started that with a couple of friends, and we thought it would pick up so that then we can quit our jobs and hopefully continue building our dream. For us, luckily, one of the key co-founders who was integral in coming up with the idea, he quit his job and decided that he's going to focus on the business full time. So all we had to do is work so that we can fund this guy to continue working. And we thought that is it. That's enough. That's good enough. But then at the back of our heads, everyone had a plan B. And I think for us, that was where we were failing. You know, we were not taking the full plunge. We were half-hearted into the, and for some businesses where you are not the one running the business day to day, you've probably employed someone, unamweka kwa ka chemist somewhere, and that chemist is expected to be performing, and you think, okay, I've done everything, I've stocked the chemist, now this guy is just supposed to sell. But his attitude, the way he receives customers, the way the place is kept, the way he's dressed up, everything is just putting off the customer. And because you're never the customer, you're always on the backside trying to organize the medicines and everything else. So you never come back to the front and actually test how it feels for a customer, or you've actually never sent someone. And you always tell yourself, once the chemist grows, I can afford a more expensive trained person, and then I will keep them there and they will keep running the thing. Now, for businesses that are also very complicated, now we were running a recruitment platform, and half the time, when you haven't figured out the exact model you want to operate, it's difficult for you to even train anyone to do what they're supposed to do. So there's like two guys who knows how the system works. Without those two guys, the system will just crash to a halt. And that scares people. Now, I'll tell you where it's scary. It's because, you see, for people to agree to be on your platform, or for someone to agree to be part of your customers, meaning that they subscribe to your software solution, it means that they have ditched whatever solution they had. If they didn't have anything, they are still now partly reliant on you. Now, what happens if you don't exist after 6 months? Now, that's scary, because you see what will happen to them. If you've had, there was a company here before that was operating an e-commerce model a very long time ago. That was, I think, in 2004, 2005. It was quite early to be operating. There's a raised hand. Is the problem the sound? Someone raised their hand. We can go on. So what was the problem then? You see, for them, one of the biggest problem was the software. They put up a nice bells and whistles software. It was a South African product. Now, what happened during the mid 2000s, companies were getting acquired left, right, and center. So the mother company of the company in South Africa got acquired, and they were left with the software. and the cost of maintaining that software was very expensive because they had to get very highly paid engineers to come and maintain the solution. So in this case, they were forced to come up to exactly what our topic is today. Should they close down or should they keep going? Now, for them, the choice is, I don't have their permission, that's why I don't want to mention their name, but their choice was, they were spending, their overheads were over 2 million shillings. Now, over 2 million shillings in overheads around 2004, 5, that must have been a lot of money. And in addition to that, they had a software that keeps breaking because they can't maintain it. It's so expensive to pay programmers to come and maintain. And they can see they have a business case. They have customers. They have big customers. I mean, some of the top companies in Kenya that you know and you've heard of were on their platform and they were buying from their platform. They had all the case to make, they had everything in their favor to make for a good, successful business case. But then what happened? There was one aspect that went wrong and it changed everything. Because of the software, they can't do this right now. So they have identified the problem, which is good. They have a software and they need a new one because that one clearly is not going to work for them. So they decide that, okay, the best way is to get a new software. Once we get a new software, we will avoid all these problems. How much does a new software cost? So that was a good question because apparently those softwares costs quite a bit. So their burn rate of 2 million shillings plus was nothing compared to the cost of software. So they would have to shell maybe 100 million or two to get the new software in place with the licenses and everything else. Now, what they decided to do is to approach an investor. Now, sometimes you all go through this. I mean, you have your small kinyozi somewhere, it's struggling, and then you get this barber who was from another town and he tells you how good he is with customers and you think, wow, okay, let me sign him up as a partner and then we'll add a new machine and then things will come back to normal. And then you do all that and then things just didn't work. So in this case, the company could not identify an investor that was ready to chip in that amount of cash. And they reached that point where, should we go on or should we stop? Now, picture yourself in their shoes, because at that point, there are several months worth of salaries that you could not pay. You've not paid rent for a couple of months, you're behind schedule. Everyone is looking for you as the boss and you are nowhere to be found. We're actually reading the news to see if you've flown out of the country or you're still within. And at that point is where now you need to tell them, sorry guys, it didn't work out. All the shattered dreams, everything that you've promised, like, it's just this month, next month things are going to change. And then it hasn't changed. So what happened? What goes wrong? Now, if you're looking at the business components, everyone tries to get things right as much as possible. So everyone does a market analysis. And in the market analysis, you try and identify whether there is a need for your product. Now, the best part about identifying a need is we ask people if they need a new job site that is swanky, that is nice, it's colorful, and it will enable them to apply for a job in a different way. We really wanted to revolutionize the sector. Then what answers were we getting is we were getting like, yeah, that's exactly what we've needed all along. I mean, oh, you're such a blessing. You came at the right time. So sometimes you ask around, you get an answer like that. Sometimes you ask around and nobody has heard of what you wanted to do at all. You want to introduce something that is totally new to the way of doing things. Now think Airbnb, think Uber, think M-Pesa. I mean, who would have thought that money will come in form of an SMS? I mean, at the first time I heard that, I thought it was ridiculous. I'm sure most of you thought that too. Now think of Twitter at that point when you are posting stories on Facebook. I mean, story means several paragraphs on a post. And then Twitter comes, and what they have done is they have limited your characters to 140, and they expect everyone to be happy. Then you're wondering, like really, who asked for less characters? Everyone wants more. So when you are doing your market analysis, you are trying to identify whether there is an opportunity. And in some cases, you are right, there is actually an opportunity. What next? So the next natural step for you is to build a business plan. Now, most businesses, and you remember this statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that says only about 1 in 10 businesses live up to their 5th year, and half of that don't make it past, is it their 10th year? Now, there are a lot of statistics about that. I did a research on business-to-business e-commerce, and what I found out was startling, because 80% of business-to-business e-commerce sites fail. So it was quite something. And the reason why people still get into that sector was something that is mind-boggling, because why would you get into a business that has proven cases of failure? Before you join, you can even Google it and find that, oh my goodness, everyone who was there before died, and you are coming in. So you will come to a place where you are told, like, once you have a good business plan, then you know the rest are just details. Now, what does the business plan help you do? Now, I'm not an expert in business plans, and half the time I need a lot of help. You'll find a lot of tools online. You'll find a lot of formats, some very confusing Excel formats. I went to bplan.com. I found they have an automated tool. It's very easy to use. You put in all your expected sales, projected sales, you put in all your expenses, then it gives you the shortfall in funding, and then you know how much you're making vis-a-vis. Now, a business plan is good to have, but it's only the first step. Why? Because, you know, in a business plan, most of the times your expenses don't change for the year. Now, that is according to the plan. But in reality, the cost of everything changes almost every month. Now, it's not only that you are faced with fuel rising costs and other things, but you start and then halfway you realize that you're not actually doing enough promotion. So there's this very nice way of promoting on Facebook. You boost your ads, and now you're spending 7,000 shillings on Facebook advertising your kinyozi in the local area. And you thought, okay, now I'm on my way to good things, because the two guys who came last were all talking about seeing the ad on Facebook. Now, your business plan did not have that amount. And in some cases, your business plan might not have that line at all. That budget line for advertising on Facebook, it's not even there. So in this case, it's an added expense. So what you have to do as a business person is, most of the time you compare your business plan against actuals. So at the end of every month, you are looking at actuals. For some people, and for most people, is, you know, at the end of the month, you tell your guy to funga hesabu, and then they do some totals, some receipts are lost, nobody knows where they went, and then you kind of don't remember how much you paid for delivery, this, that. Some figures are lost. So it takes you a while to actually come up with these figures. So instead of getting them on the 1st of every month, you are relaxed. There's some figures appear on the 20th, and it's totally fine. However, that then limits your ability to compare how badly off you're doing against your business plan. And in most cases, this also is a contributing factor to sending you to the decision on whether you should give up or you should continue. Now you've done a business plan and it's all well, you're getting figures. Now you're setting up systems. There are systems for doing everything. There's the way when a customer comes, how do you approach them? How do you find out what they want? How do you find out what is a good fit for what you're selling to them? And there are a lot of things that your day-to-day operations entails. Now, there are times when you have gone to a cafe and then wanakwambia there's tea, but there's no coffee. They've run out of coffee. This is very common. And you might be thinking like, seriously, this is a restaurant. How can they run out of coffee? I was in a restaurant once in Eldoret, and it was, we arrived there late. So I took a shower, went to the restaurant to find something to eat. I asked for a cup of tea. The guy says, no, we can't make tea now. Okay, can you tell me how much it will cost you to make me tea now? They said, no, we are not making tea now. So, okay, fine. Can you boil water? Water is not tea, just water. They said, yes. And then what? Okay, then you buy tea leaves next door and just pour them in the water and we'll have black tea. If anything, and if he has tea bags, even better. I'll just pour it in the cup and I'll be up and running within no time. I kept blaming myself for not carrying a tea bag because the conversation would have been very easy. But then I was also struggling, like, why would a restaurant not have tea bags or not have tea at that time? Now, it's systems. They had set systems in that the chef goes off at some point during the day. Maybe at 5, 6 o'clock, the chef leaves. And so there's no cook. So it's the guy at the counter who I think owns the restaurant. Now is the guy who warms up the food and puts it in a plate. And if he had tea, it will be in a thermos somewhere and he'll pour you a cup. So that's his system. That's his way of doing things. Now here I come and I throw a spanner in the works and I'm asking for a cup of tea. And I was actually tempting him like, look, I'm ready to pay anything to have a cup of tea because it doesn't look like there's any other restaurant that looks as nice as yours. And at this hour, I'm seriously not going anywhere. You give me a cup of tea. And that conversation didn't go well. So this is a system that was set. This guy has a system of doing things. Every evening at 6 o'clock, his chef leaves and he's left alone. And then he closes after 9. Whoever comes between that time and 9, he serves him and he collects the cash and he does everything else. That's his way of working. He doesn't want to employ a second shift. Now you notice that in my case, it was just one cup of tea that is missing cells. If a large group comes, he could not serve them. If it so happens that a lot more people come at night than during the day, then he has no way of serving them. Now, continuous improvement means that at some point he will find it necessary to keep the chef beyond 6 o'clock. So he'll ask the chef, you come in at 11, but at least make sure that you stay up to 9 because it looks like we're receiving a lot of crazy guys after 8 o'clock who are asking for cups of tea, and I need you to be here to serve them with a cup of tea. So then he changes his systems to accommodate that. Now, continuous improvement could also come in a different form. You could be talking to clients. You see, it's an early version of the business. People don't really know who you are and what you offer. And then they tell you like, look, so in your system, I can post something online and I can share in social media and people can order and buy. But I actually thought if I also maintain stock in the same system, it's going to be very nice because it's going to be very easy for me. all my stocks and my accounting are in the same system. So you make a small billing system and a small stock system. So now this is misinterpretation of continuous improvement, because what you're doing is you're actually changing everything you are doing to accommodate that one client because he's paying. Sometimes you are right. Sometimes you are not correctly, absolutely right, because what you're doing is only for that customer. If 2-3 customers have not asked for the same thing, then you should not do it, because you're doing something that is only for that customer. And sometimes it will reach a point that you're only stuck with one customer. Now, whoever else you want to recruit, you've got features there that don't appeal to them. And the more you build in IT, with every additional code, that comes with additional maintenance as well. So, if you have a pickup, maintenance is probably cheaper than if you have a truck. If you have several trucks, maintenance is even crazier, because now you need a pickup that runs around servicing all of them. So the more you build, the more complicated it becomes. And you are coming down to this point where you are thinking now, should I continue building or should I stop? That decision means that, should you continue investing money or should you stop investing any more money in this? Because it doesn't look like you're going anywhere. I think at some point we were at that stage, and we chose to stop. Unfortunately for us, things didn't take a turn for the better immediately. We chose to stop there, but then it took us a while to actually onboard our first paying customer. And that really took a toll on us. At some point, we were thinking, throw away this continuous improvement thing. We just stop here and stop building anything else, because it's expensive. You have to hire someone who is more qualified than you to do things that you can't do yourself. So it all then boils down to a decision on whether it's worth to actually continue or not. Now, most important, in all this, we are taught, and this is actually emphasized these days. I know this because I mentor a number of people, and I know from the mentorship sessions is that sometimes you can't see every part of what you want to do by yourself. You need help from others. People see more than what you see. Like if you're in a football match and you're playing, you didn't even see there was a guy behind you and people were actually telling you to avoid him, but then you still went and kicked the ball that way and it bounced off the guy, and it didn't go where you wanted it to go. However, all the spectators were actually pointing you to the right direction. It's just you couldn't hear from all the shouting. Now, a mentor gives you a sense of direction and tells you exactly where you are going to go. Now, we were lucky for us. We had a mentor initially from the word go, and he was very instrumental in us even forming a company, because we were a bunch of friends that were contributing money to build a website. We had no idea what it's going to become, and at any one point, if anyone wants to pull out, we don't know what they're going to do, because we're not even an entity at all. We're just a bunch of friends. So the mentorship, the coaching is very important, and it helps you stay in shape. Now, you have all this in place, and somehow you notice that things still don't work. So what goes wrong? How can you identify and really pinpoint the point at which you are giving up? You see, if there is this concept by Seth Godin where he says, like, you are in the deep. So this curve, the deep, you are inside the deep. It's very hard for you to come out. But once you come out, you're okay. You could actually have been 3 months away from making money, a month, a day away from making money. But then I think for us, and At this point, I need to tell you that it has been a very difficult decision, even when we were thinking of giving up and then we continued. It was not very easy. That's why I say there's no expertise in this. If you ask anyone, they'll tell you, no, no. Actually, like a lot of sites are coming up. You guys should just hold on. You should find another investor, change the model a little bit. Maybe you should even start selling machungwas on the side just to make ends meet, and then pay for the servers and keep going. However, you find that sometimes it's about your sanity. Uh, and I'm glad these days it has a name, mental health. And you can talk about your mental health, and you can talk about how it's not working for you and how it's affecting your family, how it's affecting everyone you're involved with. You see, at some point in your business, you might have decided that no plan B, just plan A. You have a business plan, you have a market research, you have everything. You have a mentor that you meet from time to time. You've been trying to run away from him because now it looks like things are not working. So clearly you're not keeping up with your mentor anymore. But then you always keep telling yourself, you know what? Like, once I succeed, I can have lunch with him and tell him how difficult it was, but now I've succeeded. But it's actually the time when things are going wrong. That's the time you need to actually sit down and decide. Now, most mentors are going to tell you, like, you know what? I think you need to make that decision. Now, if there's one thing I don't like, and I've never liked with any of my mentorship sessions I've had, is that being told that, look, I think you're in the best position to know what you want for yourself, and I think you should decide this. But then you are in this situation where you are lacking money, you have no money to pay anyone anymore, you don't pay yourself, you've been borrowing left, right, and center, your friends have run away from you. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore. Nobody is picking up your calls anymore. And then you're wondering, like, should I continue? Should I just keep pushing maybe one more month? Now, at that point, if it has reached a point where it's affecting your performance, I know there are people who fall into depression because of business. If it reaches that point, you need to actually make a decision and just close down. What's so positive about closing a business? Now, I know for most people, you are thinking that closing a business means you're a failure. You've never been a failure all your life, and why should you be a failure at this age? Surely you should have been a failure much earlier, and it could have been much easier. Why now you're a parent, you have kids who look up to you, and then all of a sudden you are sharing stories of failure? No, it's not failure. I think one thing people really need to internalize and agree is that it's not a failure, it's a learning. You have learned what works and what doesn't. I think it was Thomas Edison when he was experimenting with the light bulb. He'd done so much experiments, and at some point he had 1,000 ways of how things should not work, but he still hadn't gotten how it should work. So I'm not saying that you keep failing in 1,000 businesses, but then if there's anything that you can pick up are the lessons. What lessons can you pick up, and how can you move forward after that? Sometimes you need to cut your losses because it's going beyond your means. And if you're not careful, you're going to be out of a home. Now, it's not encouraging for people to go into that state. That's why there are entrepreneurs and coaches who are actually telling university students that once you're in university, once you're clear with university, just start something, try to experiment with business, because at that point, then if you fail, you can always go back to your parents' house and crash there for a while things stabilize, or you can just go and get a job. But at a certain age, none of those might be working. Now, at that point, then you need to really make a decision, talk to people that have been shouting sense into your ears, and ask them whether it's a good idea to stop. Then you just stop. A lot of people have failed. I don't know if many people know this, but the founder of Uber, Travis Kalanick, his first business was a failure. His first business was a failure. And he admits in the book in that he says that initially he just started a business with a bunch of friends. He was crashing there. Everyone at home thought he was mad. You know, there's this time where you start something and then you keep going, and then everyone thinks you've lost it because you don't even comb your hair anymore. You look weird. Your dress code, the last time you washed your clothes, I don't think even you remember anymore. Now in that state, everyone is scared of you, and you need to give up. You need to stop. So with Travis Kalanick, it was the same case. They had folded their previous business. And that is why when he came to Uber, he signed up for the CEO position. He did not initially want the CEO position, but then he signed up for the CEO position, and he signed up to have a lot of majority voting share rights. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but for him, he had learned from previous businesses where he had no control. And in Uber, he decided, no, I'm going to be the one who is calling the shots. And unfortunately for him, things still didn't go well. But that was outside the main area or the main domain of the business, because it had more to do with workers' rights, women who were being abused, and things like that. That didn't go well, so well for him. But as far as business is concerned, he had done quite a bit in terms of really setting things right from the word go. And where did he learn this? From his failed business. So sometimes failure or stopping, giving up, is not really giving up, is collecting all the lessons and saying that these are the lessons I've learned from this business. I have a friend who's failed, I think, in about 29 businesses. I don't think even he can count how many businesses he's failed. And I wish he was here today. Maybe we could have asked him to share which one was number 28 and number 29. But the thing is, he very quickly cuts his losses and moves on. I don't think sometimes that's a very good decision to do, but then you see, for him, it was whether the business is making money or not. If it's not making money, he cuts his losses and moves on to the next business. And that's how he's been going. Now he's stuck to one and he's giving it his all. And I think if he did that from the word go, that's why when I started the conversation, I said, are you giving it your all? Is this something you are doing part-time and then you have a plan B? Because if you do, then that's where the problem starts mostly. But then sometimes you can't avoid it because you need a salary to be able to pay other people's salaries. And sometimes that's how people start. But then to maintain your sanity, you get to that point where you have to close. So what I say to people is, for the majority of you, if you're in business, you're shaking, you don't know how it's going to go, I encourage you to keep going. But until you reach that point where you can now clearly see there is no going forward, enough is enough. At that point, I think you consolidate your learnings and move forward. There are a lot of learnings I learned from making this website that I advise young people not to make the same mistakes. So we are not where we were supposed to be. And from those learnings, we try to share with others to avoid them trying to make the same mistake. And we hope that we can continue paying it forward that way, because in business, there's always something you can learn from someone. And a mentor, I have a question here. How do you get a mentor? How do you get a mentor? From Anne. Now, a mentor is sometimes an official guy, a very high-end executive who has been there, done that, and he's providing guidance for you. In our case, that was the case. although we had many more mentors around that were not up there and that were not like very successful. So sometimes this can be a formal relationship that you go to someone and say, like, I want you to be my mentor because you've done a similar business, or you've been in business for a while, you've been in corporate for a while. I need you to guide me so that I don't make the same mistakes that my peers are making, or maybe you've seen something before that you think you can share with me so that I avoid those pitfalls. So a mentor relationship can start like that. You look for someone that you can approach. You look for someone that can sit and listen to you. There is this very weird habit of, you might be speaking, and I speak at a number of events. Sometimes I am an entrepreneurship judge at those events, and then someone just walks up to you and they've had a very small part of what you are saying, and then they say, like, I want you to be my mentor. Now, as much as you wouldn't turn away such a person, you would listen, of course, but that's not how mentorship works, because you really don't know me and you have no idea what I do apart from what I just spoke half an hour back. Now, unless you do a little bit more research about it and then contact me later and tell me, like, I heard you speak, I've researched, I know you've done A, B, C, D, I know we have this in common. Would you mind being my mentor? Can we meet maybe for 1 or 2 monthly sessions? And from there, it is, we can try to see what to do. Then that makes for a good relationship. So a mentor doesn't have to be like very formal. It can be totally informal. You could actually just approach your friend that you bounce off ideas and see how they can help you. I'm reading another question. In the unfortunate event that the business has to completely fold, how do you go about no longer filing nil returns? I think you mean, how do you go about filing nil returns, and you have to go back to filing zero again. Now, I think this is something that can be addressed by tax experts. It's not in my place. I'm not an accountant. I have never actually folded a business as a business per se. What I've done is I've moved out of businesses that were not moving forward. So the other partner kept the business. Now, in that case, they continue paying tax, or they would stop and wind up the company. However, one thing you might need to note is that it's becoming more and more difficult to wind up businesses in Kenya, particularly limited companies. So if you have a limited company and you want to wind it down, you have to be very careful, because there's going to be a tax demand and it might take you a while to actually close it down. A sole proprietor is easy, a partnership is easy. Now there is a limited partnership, which I understand is a little more favorable if you haven't figured out what your business model is. So I'm not an expert in that. You might need to find an accountant or a tax expert. So I'll stop there, I think, and I'll take any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. For the person who is asking about their taxes, we hosted Monica Gedumba we partnered with KRA, and we have had 2 sessions with KRA. If you can go to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to figure that out. I think that was a question that had come up at that point on if you are running an inactive company, how do you go about filing returns? So you can go there. If in case there are no answers, you can always reach out and we'll get the team from KRA to answer that question. So that then
what I've seen in other jurisdictions, like for instance in Rwanda, what happens is in their business procedures, in the business registry, you can actually pause or stop a company and you say that this company has stopped operating. So from there on, the taxes are not duly accepted from you. I mean, they're not expecting any taxes from you, and you are in the process of winding down. But there's actually a pause button, the way you have on YouTube videos. You pause the video. So in this case, there is a pause button for companies. I hope there's someone from government listening, because if they could have that pause button in the company registry in Kenya, it could help a lot of people, and it could help avoid a lot of misunderstandings with the taxman.
Yusuf, unasikia? Yusuf works at Business Registration Services. I hope you've heard what, and he will kill me for saying that. But yes, Yusuf, please, we can continuous improvement. So you can always help us. Suggest that it may work, it may be accepted or not, but I'm sure there is something you can suggest towards that. So what you're saying is, it is important that, when you're talking about having plan B, I remembered a while back when business was low and I actually cleaned up my CV. I was like, you know what, I'm going to look for a job. But the thought about getting to that job, in fact, I even got an interview, but I cried the day I was supposed to go for that interview because I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to do. So, and then I realized, I mean, I I shouldn't just fold because it's gotten hard. So allow me to say this webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing and Pathway Solutions as well. We have obviously an offer from Pathway Solutions for training sessions that are taking place, and this is instructor-led trainings that are taking place within the week, and I'll be sharing with you that shortly. We can't take a question or two. I know we are almost running out of time, but we can't take a question or two depending on what comes up. But yes, everyone is saying very eye-opening. It's true. If you have plan B, you don't give it 100%, which is true. Thank you, Grace, for giving us coaches in entrepreneurship. Karibu sana, Liz. Aha. So, and just to probably ask you a question, there's the fact that you know the business is not working, but you still want to hang on. Your mentor says make that decision, but you know that deep down your gut, you really want to hang on. Is this where you say keep going?
Yeah, well, I am in a similar situation for one of the businesses, and you know that it's not working. Now, it's not working is a broad term. There is how much is it not working, because now in the case I shared before with the company that had overheads of 2 million shillings. So if you want to continue, is you have to find someone who's going to pay 2 million shillings every month for you to keep the lights on. Now, however, there are cases where it's not working, it's paying for its bills, but it's not paying you enough. It's paying maybe you're making 10K from all the trouble and all the running around. So in that case, if you want to say you can keep going, then you can, because in actual sense, you're making something out of it. You're not making nothing. So that's the difference. But if you are making nothing and you're actually going negative, then at some point you need to decide enough is enough. And I think you need to set a time limit. I once was doing a project and I set a time limit. I had, there's this fancy term which people like to call cash day zero. Cash day zero is when your money is going to run out. And I had a cash day zero. It was 3 months away. And it was approaching slowly, slowly, slowly. I always kept telling myself, tomorrow things will look up, tomorrow things will be better, tomorrow things will be better. And you wake up with those. In fact, you try everything. Those affirmations you do in the morning. Today is going to be a nice day. And then you go out and it's still not a nice day. And it actually starts raining immediately you leave the house. So you do everything right. And then you still find that things are not working. Now, in that case, you need to cut your losses. What I did once I reached cash day zero, it was hard. I was trying to look for a way of telling the people that were involved in the project that, look, we are out of funds. Luckily, something came up and then they took up other projects. So I didn't have to face them to tell them that. But then I stopped spending anymore because I had reached my limit for that particular project. Now, I'm not saying I'm like, don't look at me as that wise guy who's always cutting down his costs whenever, or is cutting down his losses. No, I am nowhere near that, because in some cases I've made decisions that we keep we kept burning a hole in our wallets until we saw the light of the end. Actually, the website that the job site that I was talking about, that's a clear classic case where we registered the business in 2013 and we didn't make our first paycheck until 2016. We could have given up anywhere in between. And I'm telling you, it wasn't easy to just say, keep going. I know, with human beings, when you're successful, like everyone thinks like, he's successful because he goes for a morning jog and then he has his breakfast. He believes in breakfast so much. And then after that, he has a light lunch and a light dinner. Uh, Now, when you fail, everything you do is stupid. So it's like, this guy, we told him not to go for jogging. It's such a waste of time. Instead of going for a jog in the morning, he could have prepped the servers, he could have checked the database. I mean, it's the same guy running every morning. In one case, he's a failure, and in one case, he's a successful. And like, so if we failed, we told you these websites things don't work. Even in the US, they failed. Like .com bust was a bust of websites. You guys still came up with a website even years later. How stupid were you? But then we kept going. We thought, okay, you know what? Like, since it's not costing anyone, it's just us, and we are okay footing the cost. Sometimes we were not okay footing the cost because that meant making a decision on whether to fund the business or eat. So in some cases, it was that serious. But then we were lucky, like we got to the point where, oh, we saw our first check and a second one come in. And I think our first check came 9 months late. For some reason, the customer delayed to pay. And now, in that case, it was, we were really looking forward to when. I think at some point we forgot that we were actually waiting for a check and we just went on with our lives. And then yeah, the check came in and then we celebrated. So keep going in situations where you have it together. If you don't have it together, it's not encouraging to keep going. It's good to try, but then you have to know that if you fail big time, and you fail a lot of people. So it's up to you to decide how you want to, or where you want to stop. So you've climbed a mountain, you've reached the base camp, you can't go any forward. And you know this about people climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. They don't go all the way to the top. Some people stop somewhere and say, like, you know what? I'm losing my mind. I can't count backwards anymore. You have to come down. I haven't been to Kilimanjaro, but everyone that has been there tells me that they ask you to count. And if you can't, or you can't remember your name, then you have to go down. So at some point in business, if things are becoming that difficult, then you need to make that hard decision to stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you so much. I think today you've given us quite a lot of thinking to do. And it is very, very interesting to just put it into perspective. And I like the fact that you started with telling us areas where we could be failing, areas that could result to us actually making that decision. And I like the part for system continuous improvement. I love the fact that we needed a mentor. And I don't know whether Nelson is here because we were discussing on choosing mentors. And I think Mohammed has actually articulated quite well. And I think we will need to work on the issues that actually lead us to wanting to close shop, especially things like having a plan B. And I know a lot of people actually do that plan B. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Allow me to just inform you guys about the sessions coming up from Pathway Solutions, one of our partners. There will be an instructor-led via Zoom meeting to, when is this? On the 5th. No, wait, 5th is already gone. So this happened last week, I am thinking so. So now they're going to 17th. There are 2 sessions. One is happening at 7:30 to 9 p.m. I think, Frank, you got this mixed up, the dates, because I know project management 1 took place, 2 is coming up, but you have 2 and work-life balance happening on the same time. Please clarify that. And then reinventing yourself after disruptions is coming up on the 12th from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. So for you who would want to take part, there's project management 2, work-life balance, and reinventing yourself after disruptions. You can always email info@atarasolutions.co.ke or frank@pathwaysolutionsservices.co.uk. If you can email us, you can request to get a login for these trainings, and you can be able to attend. They are obviously sponsored by Pathway Solutions, and they're the ones who will be conducting the trainings on these particular days. So email us with the title of the training that you'd want to attend, and Kevin and Frank will actually get in touch with you. So email info@atarasolutions.co.ke. Atara Solutions is with an H and an S at the end. So if you're looking forward to learning more about project management, work-life balance, and reinventing yourself after disruptions, please get in touch with info@atarasolutions.co.ke or frank@pathwaysolution services, not Pathway Solutions. It's pathwaysolutionservices.co.uk, and you'll be able to attend this. And we appreciate you, Pathway Solutions, for your partnership and for helping us in our mission to change the world through information. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And just allow me to ask Mr. Mohammed, what is your parting shots? You're muted. You're on mute.
Okay. So my parting shot is a business is a complex entity. At any one point, you have very complex problems. And you know what they say, there is no easy solution for complex problems. So at times when you feel like you are seeing things you've never seen before, you are hearing things you've never, I think that's the reason why we were taught many subjects in school. It's because learning is continuous. You'll always keep learning. You'll always keep learning new things. In business, you need to not stop learning. You need to keep learning and just understand that even after learning, there is no easy solution to complex problems. So try to keep going, and hopefully at some point there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. That's at least that's what I wish for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And my friend is telling me they want this mug. This is was done for me as a gift by A+ Label. If you're looking for people to do your end of year giveaways or merchandising that you can give out, you can get in touch with A+. And I love this cup. Where is Sol? Sol used to complain that my cup is big. Where? You see, somebody came to my rescue. I don't know whether it's smaller or not, but yeah, it was often given to me as a gift by A+ Label. And if you're looking for people who can do this for your organization or for your end of year gifts and all that, or for any event that you may have, you can always get in touch with me, and I'll be able to share A+ Label's contacts with you. Somebody is asking whether you can get a recording. Yes, all our sessions are recorded and uploaded on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is Get It Right with Atara Solutions. So for the people who are joining us for the first time, this program is called Get It Right with Atara Solutions, where we demystify issues in entrepreneurship and employment. We are alive to the fact that not everyone can be employed and not everyone can be an entrepreneur. So we are making sure that if you're an employee, you are very good at it. If you're an entrepreneur, you're not making some mistakes that you could be avoided. So we believe information is power, and that is why we are doing this for you and for the society, because we have to build sustainable businesses. And whether you're an employee or an employer, we need each other. So That is why we do this. Allow me to just remind you that we have an upcoming event. This is our end of the year. We are ending season 2 on a live session, and we have your favorite so far. Not to say that the people who are coming after this, after we did the survey, are not your favorite, but actually most of our speakers will be in the house. However, the panel session, the learning sessions will be guided by Coach Brianzi. You remember Coach Brianzi? She took us through 3 keys to get unstuck. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. And then we have Engineer James Mwangi, who took us through transitioning from employment to entrepreneurship. Powerful sessions there. We have Joram Winamo. Joram Winamo took us through business strategies. Obviously, very powerful presentation. And then we have Jen Mutisia, who has a wealth of knowledge. She's been with us season 1 and season 2. And I can tell you, that day will be lit. I can tell you that for a fact. So start shopping, get your cocktail wear with a touch of African. Yes, the dress code is cocktail wear with a touch of African. And we are only doing this for 3,500. With that amount, you'll actually get a chance to network both with each other and with our panelists and any other speaker that has come here. Imagine an opportunity for us to meet physically, just engage and have that human touch, have fun as we end the year, and as well as make some business count. Yeah, because once you meet for networking, I can tell you for a fact, you will not go back the same. So make sure you get your business cards ready. We are going to play a raffle. We are going to have lots of fun on that day. Let me not spill the beans yet. So if you haven't booked your spot, please do so. It will be at Parkland Sports Club on 30th of November. It's a Tuesday, and the session on that day will be live, and we are going to answer your questions and have a discussion around Align to Win. What does it take? And this will also in line with our mission, where we are saying we want to create sustainable businesses. So thank you so much, Balcon Housing, for your partnership. Balcon Housing, like I said when we were starting, is offering us a plot at 400,000 shillings with custom-made installments. So if you're looking to invest in a piece of land, please get in touch with us, and we're going to hook you up with Balcon Housing. As always, thank you, Pathway Solutions. We are honored to be in partnership with you, and thank you so much for the giveaways. I'm sure the people attending the sessions are enjoying it. And as always, our people, will the event be available on Zoom? Chances are that the discussion may be available on Zoom, yes, but the networking part will not be on Zoom. Probably the only thing will be there. And we're going to let you know for online attendees how much it will cost. So, right, other than that, allow me to just thank you, our audience, for always being here, for always making the time. If this is your first time, we do this every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have 2 more Tuesdays to go before we do the live session. We have covered quite a lot. I tell you, the information on our YouTube channel is immense. As in, this is information that has come to you for free, and it's information that can make you. If you follow it, you can actually get a lot of answers to your questions. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. I think the team had shared the link earlier. Join us on 30th of November as we end the year at Parkland Sports Club. And like our Facebook page, we are live on Facebook today. Hi, Facebook family. I have seen quite a number of you. Yusuf, I saw you there. And Doreen, I think I saw you there. So we are live on Facebook. So follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. And see you next Tuesday as we continue our journey to demystify issues in entrepreneurship and employment. As always, if you would like to get more information on our WhatsApp group, you can always join it. I think the team had also posted the link to joining the WhatsApp group so that you can get updates on what's happening with Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. So without further questions, allow us to end the session this evening there. And thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed, for making the time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And we hope to see you on the 30th of November. And I hope you can come, and probably then you'll be able to square who you can mentor amongst our followers, because I like that you've been a judge in quite a number of several entrepreneurial contests. So I believe you have a lot to offer, and we look forward to engaging with you a lot more. So thank you so much, our good people. We wish you a lovely, lovely night. See you on Tuesday, same time, same place, as we discuss a lot. Yeah, so right. I am going to now do the music, as my people had missed that music. I know, it's been a minute. But yeah, have yourselves a good night.